Fairy tales are rich in wisdom, packaged in memorable stories. In their fantastical and sometimes frightening way, they showcase both the grandeur and the darkness of the human condition. They teach us how to live, showing us the glory of goodness and the dead end of evil. Think of the lesson in humility and generosity that the story of the prince and the pauper teaches us. Think of the lesson in courage and truthfulness that the story of the emperor's new clothes imparts. One of the dominant themes in fairy tales is that ordinary seeming people and ordinary seeming things can sometimes have hidden within them extraordinary power, extraordinary possibility. The examples are numerous. One is the story of the Frog Prince. A princess has to overcome her squeamishness to kiss a frog who is really a prince and requires the kiss to be unleashed, to be freed from his enchantment. Yet another example is the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Jack comes from a poor family, and he trades the family's prize cow to get his hands on a bunch of seemingly useless beans. And then he sows the beans into the ground, and they grow up into a beanstalk that stretches into the sky. You know the rest of the story with the clouds and the castle and the giant fee-fi-fo-fum. Kissing a frog and trading a cow for a handful of beans are, at face value, absurd things to do. Yet we, as the listeners and readers of these stories, are meant, along with Jack and along with the princess, to learn to see beyond appearances, to open our eyes, open our hearts to what escapes the human eye. Children are good at this because they have not lost their sense of wonder, and it's no accident that Jesus, over and over again, calls us to be like children. Today, we celebrate a wonderful truth to which these fairy tales point. Today, we celebrate a gift that is greater than those told in those tall tales. We celebrate the truth that what begin as ordinary bread and ordinary wine become really and truly, through the action of the Mass, the body and blood of Jesus. This is a transformation we cannot see, and we can only know in faith and in trust. It turns out that fact is more wonderful than fiction and fairy tale, because the fact is that God so loves us that he desires to be our food. He desires to live in us. Jesus in the Eucharist is as present to us as I am to you right now, really, truly, and substantially. He is as present to us as we are to one another right now. And his presence is even greater in that it enters us through the Eucharist. This is a marvelous gift. The sad part is, many people today, even Catholics, do not believe in Jesus' words that we heard from the gospel. They do not believe that he is really and truly present. They think it is fantastical. They think it is ridiculous. It's overkill. It doesn't make sense. The trouble is, many hard-headed skeptics, while slow to believe Jesus' words about his presence to us in the Eucharist, are quick to believe other voices that promise magical fulfillment. The skeptics believe in their own fairy tales, and the fairy tales they believe do not end happily ever after. Think of the latest car commercial you've seen, where advertisers promise you, through the imagery of the ad, that if you get your hands on that new car, your life will be changed. Your ordinary life will become extraordinary. You will begin to live and live fully. And we believe them. We believe them. Even though over and over again, we know that those things, those shiny things and bright things with which we fill our lives, don't really fill us. They leave us empty. Yet we keep going back. This is where fairy tales come to our rescue. Because those stories teach us that it's not the bright and shiny things that ultimately have the power to fill the emptiness in us. It's the ordinary things, seemingly ordinary things, that contain hidden power. And this, brothers and sisters, is precisely how Jesus comes to us. He comes to us under the guise, under the veil of ordinary bread and wine. And when we believe him, when we receive him, we are transformed. We are transformed out of our ordinary lives and become extensions of his body, his presence, his power and love in the world. In the fairy tale stories, people scoff at the princess who kisses the frog. They scoff at Jack and his beans. And in this world, people scoff at Catholics for their belief in the real presence. It looks ridiculous to them. But I say, lean into their scorn and mockery. Embrace it. If someone were to come to this church for the first time, a seeker, maybe a skeptic, and if they were to watch us at Mass, would they ever guess that we believe that Jesus is really present in the Eucharist? Would they watch us and see by our nonchalance, our casualness, that what we receive is something ordinary and humdrum? Or would they see by the extravagant gestures of love and reverence that we give the Eucharist, that something more than meets the eye is here? Brothers and sisters, we are meant to point to the mystery. We are meant to confound the world with our faith in this gift greater than anything the world can give us. Fact is greater than fiction. The Eucharist, Jesus' true presence, is not a fairy tale, though fairy tales can train us and prepare us to receive this truth. And we have the great privilege of pointing to it, of receiving it, and being transformed. It's no ordinary bread and no ordinary wine that we receive at Mass. It is Jesus. And by that transformation, we are transformed as well. May we accept that gift in faith. And may we, out of the abundance of love given to us through it, be signs of Jesus in the world.